Welcome and thank you for joining us on another edition of the Evening Review. My name is Ogito Greg, and in studio with me this evening I have Dr. Iyaloo Konstantinus. She's with the NIP, the Namibia Institute for Pathology, and has been instrumental in establishing their research and development unit. How are you, Doctor?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Agito. This is my first time on Evening Reviews.
Thank you very much for joining us. The unit has been able to establish a medical innovation hub. Can you tell us how did that happen?
Yes, we now have a medical innovation hub which we launched on the 23rd of May, which was last month. Mm-hmm. And before I answer your question, do you remember COVID?
I do.
You do?
I do very much.
I'm actually glad you remember, because we at the Namibia Institute of Pathology will never forget. We were at the forefront of testing, and it was a time where we were very vulnerable, and we saw how running out of stock could potentially affect our operations. Mm. And this is really where this idea was born. We wanted a strategic response to sorting out our persistent supply chain challenges.
Okay.
And, so we therefore decided to go into manufacturing just because, like I just explained, stock outs, lead times, and patients' life do not wait for these things. Yes. So this is really where we say, look, let's do something about it. And this is where we are now. We have a medical innovation hub.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Doctor, I think we should take a step back and just take a moment to explain to our viewers about the Namibia Institute for Pathology. What is it? What do you do?
Yeah. Yes. So we are firstly a public enterprise. We have 36 labs across the country. When you go and see your healthcare provider and they take a sample from you, whether it's blood, saliva, they send it to the Namibia Institute of Pathology.
Okay.
We, at the core of our work, is really diagnosis. The doctor needs to know what is wrong with you. So we are their eyes inside your body. So really, in the layman's term, that is what we do. Awesome. We are in the process, in the business of diagnostics.
Okay. Yeah. And in terms of laboratory consumables, you mentioned, what is that?
So, like I said, we have been in the business of diagnostic, right?
Yeah.
But now we want to go into manufacturing laboratory consumables.
Okay.
So, when we take a biological sample from you, we use what we call test tubes.
Yes.
More advanced term that we use is called specimen collection tubes, but let's stick to test tubes. Mm. So now we really want to go into the production of test tubes as part of our diversification agenda.
Okay.
Yes, so that we cannot just be doing diagnostics, but we are also going to take over some of the key value chains to build resilience in our public health system.
Sure. Yeah. And the concept for how you're going to manufacture, is that a foreign concept, or how did you come about it? Yes. How did you develop it?
Yes. So this whole project was homegrown. We did not take any consultancy. Okay. We decided to run this initiative through our research and development unit. Aguto, you cannot be talking about R&D when you're not doing what you say.
Yes.
So this was an opportunity for us to really prove to the nation that, R&D is not just words, but it's actually in the actions that we do.
Okay.
So we developed this concept, and we came up with a business draft. We know that we are going into uncharted territory. Yes. So then we really drafted a business proposal, and we had to do intensive research to just understand this medical industry. Yes. Because it comes with so many requirements. It's the standards, good manufacturing practices, it's the medical grade raw materials, yes. So this is really what we did that led us understand this industry on our own, so for sustainable purposes. Yes. It's not about someone coming to feed us the information. It's about us growing that capacity in-house so that nobody can even take away that from us.
Awesome. Yeah. And are you already manufacturing some of this, and are you able to do it in a competitive manner?
Yes, we've started. The launch that we had on the 23rd of May really signified the major milestone.
Okay.
The machinery is up and running. The tubes, everybody who was there, really got to witness the tubes that we've manufactured, written made in Namibia.
Wow.
So really a sense of national pride to really have a tube that is made locally by Namibians, but for the greater region of SADC and Africa, because I must mention that we were partly funded by the European Union and the Germany as part of driving sustainability within the SADC region.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's excellent. You said a little bit about the funding. How did you manage to get their support?
Right. So we one of the things that we did, as I said, during the first phase, we conceptualized and we drafted our business plan.
Yeah.
And we saw an opportunity that came out during COVID that was calling upon innovators who wanted to, go into innovation of COVID-19 consumables.
Yeah.
So after we drafted our proposal, we saw this as an opportunity. So we then submitted our proposal to the SADC Secretariat, and I must be, we were very fortunate to be some of the companies that were chosen in SADC, and this is how we got our funding. Really also showing us that when you have ideas out there as Namibians, please let's jump to these opportunities of funding when they come. Just to capacitate us and to enable us to start some of these innovative projects.
I think that's very good advice.
Yeah.
But being a public enterprise, you are still subject to our procurement laws and practices, and they are not always easy. Can you elaborate a little bit about maybe some of the hurdles you faced and getting past them?
Thanks, Aguto. Just to also go back to the funding, I must mention that 80% of this project was funded by NIP.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is, and then the 20% now is the one that was funded by the European Commission, together with the Germany. So when it comes to our procurement process, it's a rigid process. We need, and it's been established for a reason. And I know is that it's really to promote accountability and transparency. But when it comes to projects that are funded externally that have strict timelines, for instance, to advertise a bid for a specific number of days that is specified for a month, it might not always be suitable for projects that have timelines. And in this case, what we faced was that, we had to restart the process, because we were not getting suppliers in country, and it's understandably so. It's like I said, it's a new industry, so these are some of the delays. And other delays include really the many channels of approval. So if we want to drive innovative projects, the procurement process also needs to evolve. We need to come up with models that are more responsive, agile, that can actually really help R&D to thrive. Yeah.
Is there space for innovation within the current model, do you think, in general?
The current procurement model, if your project is not, if you're not in a hurry, if you're not in a hurry, then by all means that process. But and I think we as a country are in times where we don't have time anymore. You look at our unemployment. I don't think we have time anymore. We need to evolve. So that's why I'm saying that the whole model needs to evolve so that it accommodates, these projects, and just to really encourage people, because not everybody has patience to deal with the bureaucratic processes. It can be very frustrating.
I can imagine so.
Yeah.
This was an example of public-private partnership. Do you think there are more opportunities, especially for NIP, to pursue such things?
Absolutely, Aguto. We are just starting, and the launch is just one of the major milestones, but we have many things to tackle. It's facility and product certification. We also have, distribution channels, because like I said, we're not only targeting Namibia, we are also targeting SADC.
Yeah.
So we are going to need the key industry players to come and join us, and really so that we can walk this journey together. And another thing is that we want to build sustainability. So our academic institutions have to come in.
Yes.
We need to be creating that talent pool that we need that would be going into this industry. So this is really where these partnerships will be crucial, and also in scaling up. You know, the facility that we have now, it's a proof of concept. It's a smaller facility, but if we want to scale up, then we need to look at this public-private partnerships.
Where is your facility?
This current one is in Swakopmund Industrial Area.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But you said you got 36 labs all over the country.
Yes, the labs, the diagnostic labs, we have 36 across the whole country. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
We're going to take a short commercial break, but stay with us. There's more to come. Thank you. Welcome back to the Evening Review. My name is Okito Greg, and in studio with me this evening is Dr. Iyaloo Konstantinus. She's with the Namibia Institute of Pathology, NIP, and with the Research and Development Unit. Dr. Konstantinus, you were telling us about establishing this local manufacturing capability. What kind of leadership did it take to get that off the ground?
So really, the type of leadership you need for innovation projects like this, we needed a visionary, hands-on, courageous leadership. Because like I say, this is uncharted territory. We are going into an industry that, firstly, when we started, we had no knowledge about. We just knew that we had to do it.
Yeah.
So you needed leaderships who actually think beyond the traditional healthcare boundaries, and those that are able to imagine bold, sustainable solutions. On top of that, you needed a leadership that is competent, that is able to take calculated risks. So we needed to drive this, project with persistence and conviction. Trying to tackle the bureaucratic challenges that we have within our systems, but also keeping the bigger picture in mind. And the type of leadership you need is also a collaborative leadership that brings together a multidisciplinary team. Because this project required, different, people, engineers, scientists, procurement officers, and also external stakeholders, such as our funders. So really, you need leadership that have a long-term mindset, that knows that, innovation is no more a luxury, Aguto. We need to know that innovation is necessary. If we want to drive national development, we can no longer just be talking. We need to take the steps. And that is the type of leadership that we have at the Namibia Institute of Pathology. They took a step, and like I emphasized, this project, 80% of the funding thus far, and it's going to increase, has been funded locally by the Namibia Institute. And that is the type of leadership you need for this type of projects to take off.
Can you elaborate a little bit for us about the contribution that this makes to sustainability in our medical industry, and also improving the quality?
Right. So like I said, during COVID, it was a wake-up call for us. If you're talking about building a public, a resilient public health system, you need to start taking, you need to start actually being part of the key value chain. You need to start producing, because if we are importing 100%, of all these consumables, we cannot talk about resilience. Because it means if a pandemic hits us right now, and like we saw the shutdown, if we have a shutdown right now and the pandemic hits and we are trying to get some consumable from China, because of the shutdown, what happens?
We can't.
We can't.
Yeah.
So really, building resilience means localizing some of these things. We might not, of course, because of our population, we might not be able to localize everything, but we can localize some of the essential things.
Yes.
So this is really us saying, let us localize, manufacturing of the test tubes so that we can start taking control of some of these key value chains in the supply chain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate for us a little bit more about the specific test tubes that you manufacture, costs, inputs, and also distribution? Because you say there's an opportunity to supply SADC.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely an opportunity for us to supply SADC. And one of the things that I must point out is that they would be supporting us as well, especially when it comes to distribution.
Excellent.
So this is an initiative that they've already started on. Things like certification, they want to come up with a body that certify basically all these medical devices so that we do not go through a lot of hurdles.
Yes.
So that's the beauty about now having this SADC community. Now, the test tubes that we'll be producing, we have a variety of test tubes in the lab.
Okay.
And so we've really implemented a phased approach, whereby we've decided that first we are going to start with what we call as, this specimen collection jars.
Yeah.
This is usually used for your urine, stool, and then we move on to the ones that you collect for your influenza and COVID. So we really have a stepped approach on how we're going to do this so that we can reduce our imports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back in the day when I was in school doing science, those test tubes were always made of glass. Are yours still made of glass? And the glass is silicon, sand. We've got a lot of sand. Are we able to supply your medical grade inputs?
Aguto, you're going into like really deep technicalities, which I really like, because the question has always been, Africa has all these resources, right?
Yes.
And are we going to be getting our raw materials from, Namibia?
Yeah.
That is where we would want to be one day, definitely. The tubes that we are starting off right now is they are made of what we know as PET, which is a type of plastic, and it's of course medical grade. And currently we would we're being supplied by the Asian market. But the good thing about this medical grade plastic is that you can buy a bulk that will can last you for even 5 to 10 years because it's a very stable material. So that is a good thing. But really moving forward, we would like to really explore if these raw materials, we could actually start getting them and extracting them from the continent itself and not other continents. Yeah.
As someone with practical experience in terms of research and development, let us into the current environment here in Namibia in terms of research and development. Is there any support?
There is support, but I think we could do much more, right? Because what happens is that you have a lot of, I can tell you even, if I look at our universities, there are a lot of great theses that were written with really good ideas, but now they are collecting dust on bookshelves.
Yeah.
Okay, it ends at research. But how about now development?
Yeah.
So with research, I think, we've done a great deal. There's much more to do, but with development, we need to start really tapping into that.
Yeah.
We have students who have the capacity to develop even our own products that we can patent, that this is a proudly SADC. This is an idea that was developed and it's now patent and it belongs to us. So in that space of development, we have a lot to do, Aguto. And this is really where I call upon funders
Okay.
to really look at the development aspect and say, okay, we have research. So now how are we going to ensure that we are implementing it?
Yeah.
That we are really now using, the information that we have gathered, the information that we now have in these theses. How are we then going to make sure that we are implementing this to solve our day-to-day problems?
So a big problem is the funding for development.
Yes.
Okay.
Funding for development. I think when COVID came, people were asking about the vaccines that were developed quickly.
Yes.
These vaccines were not developed quickly. I can tell you that these countries have been doing research on vaccines for the past century.
Yes.
So it was a matter of them just putting into practice what they've already been researching on.
Yes.
And this is why they were very quick to be responsive. And this is where, as a country, we need to head that we are already doing research that even when something like this comes, it's going to be so quick for us to respond.
How easy is it to identify, for instance, products that can come out of research?
Right.
To present the information in a way that's appealing to funding institutions and investors. Is that possible? How does that work?
It is. I mean, like this grant that we're talking about, we had to draft and really present that this is the problem and this is how we want to solve it. And the good thing about now COVID, like, you take, it was an opportunistic situation as well.
Yes.
That we found ourselves, like I said, running out of just tubes to test. And for us, we really made that to be an opportunity for us to say, look, this is the situation that we were in. We couldn't even test at times, and this is what we want to do. We want to just manufacture these tubes. Now, when it comes to developing a new product,
yes.
The Namibia University of Science and Technology has a fab lab, a fabrication lab.
Okay.
And they already do what is called prototyping. So prototyping is really you trying to design either something that has already been there, using this technology of 3D design, or you could even come up with a new device. Because, look, we are at liberty of also designing. We are not only limited to what is already on the market.
Yes.
So I can tell you that looking at the potential we have in this country, we can prototype and we can then take something from a prototype to an actual product that we can then sell on the market.
Wow, that's incredible. And in your experience with this particular project, that fab lab must have been a big help. Could you elaborate a little bit on the steps that it took you from having the idea and then getting to the actual prototype, something in your that you can hold?
So the Fab Lab is very close to our heart because when we started this project, we approached the NAST leadership and we said, look, this is what we have in mind. And one of the objectives is to build, sustainability, and we really want this project to be homegrown. So we then set and we show them what we want to produce. And, using their 3D design, their 3D printer, they were able to print that tube for us. And, this was already a step forward showing that, we actually have the capacity to design these things in-house. And one of the things that we also did was we worked with their engineers to design what we call our clean room facility. So where you manufacture these products, you need to manufacture them in a clean room facility.
What is it?
A clean room is a sterile environment that has filtration to make sure that you don't have contamination.
Okay.
So the clean room was an in-house design, and there were engineers from NAST who were still attached to this project, who we had to sit down with, and come up with this facility, a homegrown, like I said. And so we came up with a facility, and when we went to Asia to present, we already had a solution, and we just presented the design, and we said, this is what we want. And it was really a proud moment, because made in Namibia by Namibians for Namibians.
Awesome, awesome. We've only got a little bit of time left. I'd like you to let us into the community of research and development. Is there one here in Namibia? Is it growing? What's the status of it? And just to share your last message before we say goodbye to our viewers.
Thank you. So really, before COVID, NIP did not have a research and development unit. Like I said, we need to, we need to use such, situations to realize what gaps we are having in the country.
Yes.
Because the next pandemic might not be so, what can I say? We might not have an opportunity to do what we are doing right now.
Yeah.
So if you see now that we have an R&D, it just means that things are getting better. Okay. There is research and development communities. Our universities are doing quite a lot of research projects. Okay. And we are collaborating on these projects with our universities. Research is not a one-man show. Okay. You need to collaborate. You need to bring together multidisciplinary teams to solve our problems. And yes, I must say that although we are lacking when it comes to funding, I must comment our leadership that they are really trying their best. We have NCRST, and we have many other organizations that are really being strategically put to drive R&D initiatives.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much, viewers, for joining us on the Evening Review, and join us again when we come back. Good night.